I used to own over 300 pieces of clothing, and about 80% of them were very rarely worn. Now I keep about 40 pieces in my current season capsule. It's not that I don't love clothes, because I do, but after becoming a mom and increasingly overwhelmed by my stuff, what I've learned is that less is truly more. Because going through your wardrobe when it's filled to the brim, stuffed and suffocating, is a whole different experience to going through a curated closet of items that you truly love wearing each day. And I didn't get there through a massive overnight change. I got here through some very simple steps that I'm about to share with you. So here's my 6-step simplified wardrobe method. Step number 1 is do the no risk decluttering experiment, which means we're gonna box away some clothes. I recently did a video all about decluttering experiments that a lot of people found really helpful, and I think it's because of this, because it's no risk. It's not like you're gonna get rid of everything and then later realize, oh man, I wish I didn't declutter that because now I want it back, which doesn't actually happen that often, or at least it hasn't in my case. But what we do for this decluttering experiment is we're going to take your clothes, have a good look through your wardrobe, and I like to keep in mind the 80-20 rule. This is from the Pareto principle that applies to a lot of different things, but when we think about our closet, is the fact that probably about 20% of our clothes are the ones that we wear for 80% of the time, so for a majority of the time, and the other ones that are in there are probably just in case, or items that you rarely wear, items that don't fit you anymore. And for me, I know in the past when I had a wardrobe stuffed to the brim, what this meant is that 80% of the clothes in there were clothes that didn't fit me anymore, because maybe I was postpartum, maybe I was, straight after having a baby, or maybe I had lost weight. It was clothes that I just didn't enjoy wearing, clothes that I had bought because I thought they were cute in the shop, or I just wanted to have lots of duplicates off, but I realized actually I only wore like maybe one of those and all of the other duplicates were just sitting in there. Like for example, I used to have 10 pairs of black leggings, which when would I ever need 10 pairs of black leggings? Yeah, I don't keep that anymore. I have one pair now. So keep your favorites, keep the things that you absolutely know you're gonna wear, but anything that's either a no, you don't need anymore, or if it's a maybe and you're not quite sure yet, then do this risk-free experiment and just take those items, put them in a box or in a storage bin and put them away for a few weeks, for 2 months, and see how you feel. If you do miss them, it's so easy to bring them back. But if you find yourself that you've actually forgotten about that box and in like 3 months, 6 months, whenever you feel comfortable, you realize that you haven't actually reached for any of those items in there, maybe you even forgot what's in there, that is a very good sign that you can just declutter those items and you will very likely not regret it. You won't miss those items. It's just that when we declutter, we often have this loss aversion, which is such a strong human feeling. So this is step number 1, box away those clothes. And step number 2 is to choose less but better. And I really think this is so underrated when it comes to our closet, because we feel like the more options we have in there, the better. But what ends up happening is that we accumulate a lot of clothes that are not great quality, they don't last very long, they just clutter up in there and we feel bad getting rid of them. That's how we end up with a mountain of stuff that we don't really wear. So something I found really helpful in keeping my wardrobe streamlined and clutter-free is going for more timeless classic pieces. And I've been recently introduced to this fabric that I had never tried before, called merino wool. Thanks to Unbound Merino for sponsoring this part of the video. So I had the chance to try some of their clothing and I picked 3 items. The first piece that I picked is this black merino crew neck t-shirt. It's such a basic piece, and something I've learned about myself is that I really like crew neck tops. And the other 2 pieces, let me just show you. I've picked their long sleeve crew neck. I've got the navy one, and then I've also got this lovely heather oat collar, which is a really beautiful kind of beige color, which I have found that for myself, these types of basic colors just work the best. I know when I gravitate towards versatile items, I tend to wear them the most, and I tend to get my cost per wear down a lot. Something I learned about merino wool that stood out to me is how it's naturally odor resistant, which means it requires fewer washes, which means less laundry for us busy moms. And it also makes it perfect for traveling, since you won't have to pack so many clothes. So these pieces are definitely coming with me on my next trip. It's also a very breathable fabric. It feels very like fluid and lightweight. It seems like it also doesn't wrinkle easily. It helps regulate body temperature, which means it's going to feel really nice on the skin and will be comfortable to wear throughout the day. And this is something I really appreciate in my days of running after a toddler. So if you want to simplify your wardrobe and try some of these these lovely merino wool pieces, then you can use the link in my description box or scan the QR code on the screen to get 10% of your first purchase. Thanks again, Unbound Merino, and thanks to you for being here watching this. Step number 3 is going to be starting a digital wardrobe. And this doesn't have to sound like such a big task. I know it can sound a bit overwhelming. I have been using the Index app on my phone, and this is where you can add your clothes in such a fun way, and you can make outfits every single day from those clothes if you choose to. But I think it's actually really helpful to do that, especially for not necessarily forever. I don't want this to add a lot to your plate, but I think even just challenging yourself to do this for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month if you're up for it, but just add your clothes onto the app. It's free to use, and the reason why this is step 3 and not step 1 is because we want to make sure we get rid of anything in there that is a maybe or a I don't want this in my wardrobe anymore. So just streamline it before, and then with the clothes that you have left in your wardrobe, which are probably going to be the ones that you love the most, and a few maybes that maybe you've kept in there, maybe you think you're gonna wear, you're not entirely sure. So those clothes are the ones we want to add on the Index app. And in the past, I have challenged myself to track my outfits. I actually tracked my outfits for an entire year, which I did a separate video on. But this was actually really eye-opening for me because I had decluttered quite a bit, but I still had a lot of clothes in there. And you know, when you go to declutter, but you're kind of not sure what to get rid of, and you have a lot of these decisions that feel so hard to make. But when you add the clothes onto the app, when you start tracking your outfits for 30 days, let's say, and you can see every day what you've actually worn, all of the items in there that you haven't worn in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months. When I noticed that I had items that I hadn't worn in months, but they were still in my wardrobe, that was such an easy decision for me to make and be like, okay, I have the facts now, I can see exactly what I have worn, what I haven't, and it's just so much easier to declutter those items without feeling guilty and just kind of reducing that feeling of, oh my gosh, I'm gonna regret this. Step 4 is to identify your true lifestyle. Not the lifestyle that we want to have, not the one that we aspire to have. There's nothing wrong with that, like there's nothing wrong with becoming a gym girly, but the whole point of this method is to make sure that we have a wardrobe that fits our current lifestyle. If our lifestyle changes in the future, then we will adjust our wardrobe to fit that. But right now, what we need to do is just to make sure the clothes in there are the clothes that we need and that are going to serve us on a daily basis. So a few questions you can ask yourself here, and this is what I've asked myself, and I still do because again, situations change. The first question is, what do you do on a weekly basis? What are the kind of places that you go? And you can either track this for a week, like write it down in your notes app, like what sort of things did you do on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, and just have a think, you know, so on Monday I just did work around the house. On Tuesday was a day just dedicated to my toddler, so maybe I had play dates or I went to a play group, I went to a soft play, maybe I went to the shops. Wednesday maybe it was a workout day. So just having a think about all of the activities that I do in my week and writing them down. The next question is, what clothes does your job require? For me, I just work for myself, I work from home, so my job doesn't require any particular clothing. It's just the clothes that I would wear anyway, so I don't need any sort of uniform, anything like that. But for you, that might be the case. You might need a work uniform, and so that's, you know, worth having kind of a separate category in your wardrobe. And also asking yourself, do you need more structured clothes, more like work clothes, professional ones, or do you need a lot more casual clothes? And this is just to kind of find a balance of making sure that your wardrobe is not full of blazers when what you actually need is just clothes for the soft play, which hi, yeah, that's speaking from experience. So once you do this exercise, I think you're gonna have a much clearer picture of where you are at, what your days actually look like, and what clothes do you need to serve you for those days. So when you look through, for example, your Index app and you compare it to the list of what you actually do in a week, it's gonna be much clearer to compare the two and make sure that they actually fit together. The next step is to identify your go-tos. And this is where we're going to look at colors, patterns, silhouettes, anything like that. And this can come just from looking in your wardrobe, opening your wardrobe and having a look in there, or it can come from looking on your digital wardrobe. Just try to see if there are any patterns you notice. For myself, when I started doing this process, I realized that I was buying a lot of colors that I wasn't actually wearing. Like, I knew some colors maybe were a good fit for me, but it wasn't a color that I would naturally gravitate towards. Like, when I got ready in the morning, that was not a color I would go for. I decluttered those items, and I also made it a point, you know, not to buy those items anymore in the future because I just knew I wouldn't get my wear out of them. So when I look in my wardrobe now, I notice that I like certain shades of blue, pink, and then a lot of basics, really, like a lot of neutrals, you know, timeless pieces like this, things in black, white, beige, gray, I know some people might call that boring, but I just realized for me, that's what I like to wear. That's what feels good on me. And so I'm not going to go out and buy dopamine dressing, nothing wrong with that, but I just know if I buy a lot of those items, like in very bold patterns, if I have a lot of those items in my closet, it's going to make it so much harder for me to get dressed. So I want to make sure what I have in there actually suits me. And then step 6 is to remove the surplus. This might be something that you do straight away while we're doing this process, or it might be something that you do after a while, like after 2 months have passed, 3 months, 6 months, whatever you feel comfortable with. But as you're looking through your wardrobe, this is a good chance to see, you know, is there anything in there that actually is just surplus, it's just extra, it's stuff that you don't really reach for. And as you have data from your digital wardrobe as well, it's going to be so much easier to do. But what we're going to do in this step is to take those items and physically take them out of your house. So either make it a point, you know, this week maybe, if you've got a day where you're gonna be running errands in town, or maybe you're going to doctor's appointments, whatever it might be, with dentist appointments with the kids, maybe take some of those clothes that you want to declutter, take them with you and bring them to the charity shop or to the donation box. Just tick that task that you've been meaning to do, or start putting them on Vinted, you know, take photos of them and put them on. It doesn't have to take too long to do, or even put them on your local Facebook freebie group. Sometimes we can put these things off for ages, which I know I still do sometimes, but I'm trying to do it more regularly because I notice when I do that, it feels so good. It feels so liberating to finally get those items out of my house that I've been meaning to do. And so this is just your little push to get it done. Thanks again to Unbound Merino for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check out the code if you do want to get 10% off your first purchase. And thanks so much for spending time with me today, and I will see you in my next one.